Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Udan Career Institute. In today's class, we will be continuing with chapter 10, that is microbes in human welfare. In the last class, we have started with the microorganisms and their uses for our household products. And we have covered the first household product where microorganisms are useful, that was curd. In today's class, we will move forward towards the use of microorganism in our household products. The another household product is dough. Now, the dough which we are using and which we are making in our day to day life for making food such as dosa and idli at our home, it is also been fermented by bacteria. So bacteria are widely used for the fermentation of dough, and this dough we use it in our regular life for making food such as dosa and idli. Now, whenever we see dough, there is a puffed up appearance of the dough, and this puffed up appearance of the dough is because of the production of carbon dioxide gas, and this is because of the anaerobic respiration done by the bacteria. So, puffed up appearance of the dough is because of the release of carbon dioxide gas during the process of anaerobic respiration by bacteria. And as all of you know that in anaerobic process of respiration, the final product that is released, that will be the carbon dioxide. So puffed up appearance is because of the release of carbon dioxide gas. Now these bacteria which are used for the fermentation of dough, they mainly come from air. They are present in the air. The examples are leuconostoc and streptococcus bacteria, which helps in the fermentation of dough. Now, similarly, the dough which is used for making bread is fermented by baker's yeast. So, we use baker's yeast for the fermentation of dough of bread. The botanical name, it is Saccharomyces cerevisiae. So, this Saccharomyces cerevisiae, baker's yeast, is used for making dough for bread. Now, as we have gone with bacteria, which is useful in making dough for the dosa and idli. Also, it is used for making bread. The another useful application of this microorganism is preparation of beverages. So, toddy is an example of a beverage which is been prepared by using bacteria. Now, there are a number of traditional drinks which are also fermented by microorganisms. Toddy is an example of traditional drink which is seen in case of southern India, and it is made by the fermentation of sap from palms. So, if we ferment the sap from the palm trees, then we will get a traditional drink which is known as toddy. Microorganisms, they are also useful in preparing or fermenting food, such as fermentation of fish, fermentation of soya bean and bamboo shoots to make foods. So we use microorganism for food production also. We use microorganism for the preparation of beverages like toddy, and whenever microorganisms are used for the fermentation of fish, soybean or bamboo shoots, then basically we get the food which is rich in vitamin B12. Such an example is soya bean. When we ferment soya bean, then after fermentation the food becomes rich in vitamin B12. Tofu and sufu, they are also obtained from soya beans, which are also a good source of nutrition. So these are some examples where microorganisms are useful for the preparation of food as well as for the preparation of beverages, and thereby they also increase the nutritional quality of the food by adding richness with vitamin B12, as well as by adding nutrition values to the food. Now, another most common example of a product which is been used in our day-to-day life and that has been prepared from microorganism, it is cheese. Cheese is one of the oldest food items in which microorganisms were used. Since many centuries, cheese is used worldwide. So it is one of the oldest food item where microorganisms are useful in preparation of cheese. Now we know that there are different varieties of cheese which are available in the market, and this cheese the different varieties, they have different characteristic in their texture. Every cheese, every different cheese, they have different flavor, they have different taste. and this is because of the different type of microorganisms which are used for the production of cheese. So depending upon what kind of microorganism we are using for the production of cheese, on that basis it has different textures or flavors and taste. For example, if we take the example of a Swiss cheese, then we can see that there are large holes which are present in Swiss cheese, and that is also because of the release of carbon dioxide gas by the bacteria named as Propionibacterium shermani. So this Propionibacterium shermani is a microorganism which is helpful for the preparation of Swiss cheese. And this Swiss cheese, we can see large holes are present in this Swiss cheese. That is because of the release of the carbon dioxide gas. Another example of a cheese is Roquefort cheese, and this Roquefort cheese, it has a particular flavor, and that is because they are ripened by growing a specific fungi on them. So the ripening of Roquefort cheese is done by using a fungi, and that's why it has a peculiar flavor which has been present in Roquefort cheese. So cheese is another useful household product which we use in our day-to-day life, and that is also prepared by using microorganisms such as bacteria as well as fungi. Now, microbes in industrial products. So, as we have gone with the household products, where microorganisms are useful to prepare the products which are used in our day to day life, similarly, microorganisms are used to prepare some industrial products also, which are produced in a very large scale. Now, in industry also, microorganisms are used to synthesize various products which are useful to human beings, such as beverages, antibiotics. These are some examples which are very useful to human beings. Uh, Production of such products, such as beverages and antibiotics in industry in a very large scale, it requires very large amount of microorganisms, and also it requires very large vessels which are known as fermenters for the production of such kind of products. So there are large fermenters where these microorganisms, they are allowed to grow and they are allowed to ferment the product, and finally we will get our product on a large scale. Now, first such example of an industrial products where microorganisms are useful in industry, it is the fermented beverages. Now, microbes such as yeast, they are mainly used for the preparation of wine, beer, whiskey, brandy, and rum, and these are basically the alcoholic preparations. So, yeast is useful for preparation of these alcoholic preparation. Now, for this purpose, the yeast which we are using here, that is known as Saccharomyces cerevisiae. It is used for bread making, and whenever we use this yeast for making bread, it is known as it is known as baker's yeast, and when we use it for making beverages, it is known as brewer's yeast. Now, the same yeast, it is used for making bread also, as well as it is used for making beverages also. So here we will name it the yeast as brewer's yeast, and it is used for fermenting the malted cereals as well as fruit juices. So when we ferment malted cereals and fruit juices, we will get final product as ethanol. Now, ethanol is one kind of alcoholic fermentation, which is the final product. Now, during the type of fermentation, there are basically we can say that the fermentation, it takes place when the raw material is used and it is placed in the fermenter. Now, depending upon the type of raw material which we are using in the process of fermentation and the type of processing which we are using, different type of alcoholic drinks are present. So, if we are performing the process without distillation, then wine and beer are produced, and if we are producing by distillation, then whiskey, brandy, and rum are being produced. So whiskey, brandy, and rum, they are produced by the distillation of fermenting the broth, whereas wine and beer are produced without distillation of the fermented broth. So during the process of distillation, the alcoholic content of whiskey, brandy, and rum, it increases, and which is less in case of wine and beer. So depending upon, either we are going through the process of distillation or we are not going through the process of distillation. There are two different kind of beverages. So wine and beer are without distillation, and whiskey, brandy and rum are with distillation. Now, if you see the diagram which has been shown here, then the diagram 10.4, it shows us the large fermenter vessels which are made up of stainless steels, and in this fermenter vessels, these beverages are being prepared. And on the other side, that is 10.5, we can see it is an entire fermentation industry or plant, we can say, where this entire production is being carried out. So one side there is the fermenter, which is the vessel where we carry out the process, and the another side it is an example of a plant or an industry where this process has been carried out. Now, another example of the industrial product which is being produced in a very large scale, it is known as antibiotics. Now, as all of you know, that antibiotics are mainly useful in the treatment of infection. So, whenever we suffer from any kind of infection, the physicians or doctors will prescribe us antibiotics, and this infection may be because of bacteria or it may be because of any other microorganism, and to cure such kind of infection or to treat such kind of infections, we usually take antibiotics. Now, these antibiotics are also prepared from microorganisms. So it is strange to see that the antibiotics are the products of microorganism, and they are useful to treat the infection because of microorganism. So we will move forward that antibiotics, they are produced by microorganisms, and they are the most significant discovery of the 20th century. So antibiotics, it helps us to save many lives of many patients. So they are considered as one of the most important discovery of 20th century, and it is contributing on a very large scale towards the welfare of human beings also. Now, anti, it means against, and bio means life, and the name suggests that anti means against and biotic means life. So against life is, we can say, it is the name of the antibiotic, but this is with respect to the microorganism, because antibiotics are used against microorganisms, so they will kill the microorganisms, and that's why they will save the life of human beings. So antibiotics are with reference to microorganisms, and for us they are useful, for humans they are useful. Antibiotics, they are the chemical substances, and they are produced by microorganisms, and they have an ability to kill or to retard the growth of other disease causing microorganism. So it is very simple that from one microorganism we will get the antibiotic, and the same antibiotic or this chemical substance, it will help us to kill other microorganisms which are causing infection to us. Now, penicillin is a most important example of antibiotic, and it was the first antibiotic which was been discovered by Alexander Fleming. Now, Alexander Fleming, when he was working on a bacteria named as Staphylococci, he observed that a mold was growing in one of his culture plates which were not washed. So one mold was growing in a culture plate, and around that mold, the microorganism, that is Staphylococci, was unable to grow. So when Alexander Fleming found that there was presence of mold around which the Staphylococci bacteria was unable to grow, he thought that something would be secreted by this mold, and which prevents the growth of Staphylococci around this mold. So this mold is secreting something, some chemical substance was being secreted out from the mold, and he found that it was due to a chemical produced by the mold, which was named as penicillin, and after that he named this uh, mold as Penicillium notatum. So basically the mold was Penicillium notatum, and the chemical substance which was released from this mold, it was termed as penicillin, and this is how we got our first antibiotic. Now, once penicillin was been discovered by Alexander Fleming, after that its full potential regarding its activity, regarding its usefulness, was been discovered by Ernest Chain and Howard Florey. And this antibiotic was extensively used in World War II for the treatment of American soldiers who were wounded. Now, Fleming, Chain, and Fleury, they were been awarded with a Nobel Prize for this discovery in 1945. After penicillin, many other antibiotics were also been obtained from microorganisms. Some examples of these antibiotics have been given here, where antibiotics, the microorganism from which they are obtained, and where these antibiotics are been used. The examples are chloramphenicol, erythromycin, chlormycetin, streptomycin, and bacitracin. These are the examples of antibiotics. The source, it is obtained from Streptomyces venezuelae, Streptomyces erythraeus, Streptomyces levendiae, Streptomyces griseus, and Bacillus licheniforms. These are the different sources of these antibiotics, and uses, chloramphenicol is used to treat typhoid and whooping cough, also known as kalikasi. Antibiotic erythromycin is used in the treatment of diphtheria, known as gulgotu. Chlormycetin is used to treat pneumonia. Streptomycin used to treat meningitis, pneumonia, and tuberculosis. Bacitracin is used to treat syphilis, and these are the different uses of these antibiotics. And these antibiotics are mainly used in the treatment of such kind of disease which are life-threatening disease. That's why these antibiotics, they are popular in saving human lives. In the next class, we will move forward towards the uses of antibiotics, and we'll also move forwards towards enzyme and other bioactive molecules which are obtained from microorganisms. Thank you.